With apologies to the honorable people of Germany, this channel only narrates history as it appears in German historiography and has no opinion about it, and has never been and will never be responsible for the history of that country. Thank you, our good friends. In ancient times, the Germans were a heterogeneous mixture of tribes that occupied Europe between the Rhine and Vistula rivers and between the Danube and the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. The Romans used the adjective Germanus Latin, Germanus to identify these peoples, which is derived from German meaning offspring, and in Latin it means born from one parent, and perhaps the kinship organization of the Teutonic tribes was intended in applying this name to the Germans. With the conquest of Gaul 51 BC in Western Europe by the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar, wars between the Germans and the Romans took place on the banks of the Rhine for the first time. These wars were initially accompanied by the victory of the Roman forces, but the Roman forces never sought to permanently occupy the areas beyond the Rhine, and this river was always known by the Romans as the ideal border of the Roman Empire and the Germans. The bloody conflicts between the Germanic tribes and the Romans in 378 AD, with the Battle of Adrianople, were irreversibly decided in favor of the Germanic tribes. This war is known as one of the most decisive wars in history, in which the Roman infantry legions were defeated by the Goth cavalry from the Germanic tribes. After this war, due to the great superiority of the cavalry, the Roman infantry legions were never formed again. Since the Romans had little cavalry, in the period after this war they mainly used Germanic mercenaries or Huns as cavalry, and as a result, the military situation in Rome underwent major and decisive changes. Finally, in 406 AD, a coalition of Germanic tribes, mainly consisting of the Marcomanni, Quadi, ascending Vandals and descending Vandals, crossed the Rhine and occupied France, causing the division of the Roman Empire. This period coincides with the invasion of the Huns led by Attila into the Germanic lands, 433–453 AD, which led to conflict between the Huns on one side and the Germanic tribes and the Eastern and Western Roman empires on the other. Finally, in 454 AD, following the death of Attila, the Germans led by the Gepids were able to defeat the Huns. The invasion of the Germans into Western Rome and the collapse of this empire are so important that historians consider them the beginning of the Middle Ages. The Franks were other Germans who moved west from Germania. The Franks, having defeated the Romans, established their rule in Gaul, converted to Christianity, and made this land a base for their subsequent invasions of the eastern lands in the heart of the Roman Empire. In the north, the Franks subjugated other Germanic tribes and gradually built a large empire that controlled all of Western Europe except the Iberian Peninsula. The peak of the Frankish Empire was during the time of Charlemagne. He was able to add northern Italy, including Rome, to his territory. After his arrival in Rome, the Pope named him Emperor of Rome. After Charlemagne, his territory was divided among his sons, according to Germanic tradition. Finally, with the disintegration of Charlemagne's empire, the medieval German Empire was formed in the eastern regions of its territory. During the reign of Otto I, known as Otto the Great, which began in 936 AD, the unity of the Germans was increased by the establishment of a new empire, and Germany became one of the most prominent European powers. The disputes between the German Empire and the papacy, which had arisen since the time of Henry III and Henry IV, led to the severance of relations with the Pope during the reign of Charles IV. At the same time, the religious reform of Martin Luther created the Protestant religion, and the Protestant Union was formed in 1608. The 30 Years' War that swept across Europe, 1618 to 1648 led to the emergence of two powerful states within Germany, Austria and Prussia. After the Crusades and the successive defeats of Europeans by Muslims, pessimism towards the position and status of the Pope and the Catholic Church rose throughout Catholic Europe. This pessimism, which had arisen a century earlier due to scandals and moral and economic corruption in the church system, led to a movement to change religious beliefs in the 16th century as Europeans became acquainted with Muslims and became aware of their progress. Germany became one of the main centers of this movement with the invention of the printing press and the translation of the Bible into German. Martin Luther, a Protestant priest, became the leader of the Protestant movement in Germany. After a while, he went further and declared that salvation lay in disobeying the Pope's orders. German dukes and princes also joined him in seeking freedom from the Pope's rule and the Church's taxes and tributes. Thus, the German-populated lands, along with large parts of Northern Europe, were expelled from the Catholic Church and henceforth became known as Protestants because of their new religion. This separation marked the beginning of many religious wars and bloodshed. On January 2, 1861, Wilhelm I, who had been in power since 1858, became King of Prussia. In 1862, he appointed Otto von Bismarck as Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Prussia. Due to the disputes over the duchies of Schleswig, Holstein, and Lüneburg between the King of Denmark and the Confederation of German States, Bismarck asked Austria to help resolve the dispute. The two countries offered Denmark to give up the Duchy of Schleswig, which Denmark did not accept. Finally, Prussia, with the help of Austria, attacked Denmark with 90,000 troops. The Danish troops were defeated due to their small number of troops and sued for peace, and finally, according to the treaty concluded in Vienna, Denmark officially gave up the three duchies. Prussia seized the Duchy of Lüneburg, and Austria received 15 million marks in compensation from that duchy, and the government of the other two duchies was divided between the two governments. After the Danish War, Bismarck wanted to start a war between Prussia and Austria, but as a precaution, he first befriended the French Emperor Napoleon III and convinced him to remain neutral in the war between Prussia and Austria, and then concluded an anti-Austrian treaty with Victor Emmanuel II, King of Italy. After that, he accused Austria of being distracted by the common interests of the two states in the government of Holstein. He also raised the issue of changing the status of the German states, and the German Federal Assembly declared war on Austria. According to the Treaty of Prague, the states of Schleswig-Holstein, Hanover, Hessen-Frankfurt were annexed to Prussia, and Prussia, which had been two separate parts until then, became one country. After this, Bismarck began negotiations with the states north of the main river about forming a new union, and this body, called the North German Confederation, was formed in April 1867, which included 22 states, all of Germany except for South Germany, the states of Bavaria, Württemberg, and Grand Duchy of Baden. After two great victories, Bismarck was thinking of war with France. On August 5, 1866, the French government asked Bismarck for part of the Bavarian lands on the banks of the Rhine River and the city of Mayence, but when Bismarck replied that this request was tantamount to war. This request was withdrawn, but it did not take long for France to request the immediate annexation of Luxembourg on August 20 and permission to annex Belgium at an appropriate time. Finally, on Tuesday, July 19, 1870, Napoleon III officially declared war on the Prussian government, and the war began on August 2 and lasted for 6 months. In the end, the French were defeated. With the defeat of France in 1871, the German Empire was formed. Bavaria, Württemberg and Baden joined the North German Confederation, and the King of Prussia, Wilhelm I, became emperor. The empire included 25 unequal states, as well as the territory of Alsace and Lorraine, which had been separated from France. After a remarkable victory in the Franco-Prussian War, Wilhelm was crowned Emperor German Kaiser in Versailles in 1871, and Bismarck was thus recognized as the first chancellor in German history. Thus, from the North German Confederation 1867-1871, a federal state called the German Empire was created. This part of history is called the Second Empire or Second Reich German, Zweitsreich in German sources, because this period occurred after the Holy Roman Empire and before the Nazis, whose name is the Third Reich, came to power in Germany. Between 1871 and 1877, Bismarck adopted a policy of jihad for civilization and carried out reforms known as the Culture War. The German Empire lasted until the November Revolution and the formation of the Weimar Republic. After Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the Crown Prince of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, was assassinated in Serbia, the Austrian government demanded an investigation with the participation of Austrian representatives. The Serbian government accepted the investigation but opposed the presence of foreign representatives. On January 28, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Russia declared general mobilization in support of Serbia, and Germany declared war on Russia and France in support of Austria. German forces attacked Belgium, and this act of attacking a neutral country led to the intervention of Britain in the war. This war played a major role, directly and indirectly, in determining the history of the 20th century. This war brought an end to the absolute monarchy systems in Europe and caused the extinction of four empires: the Austro-Hungarian, German and Ottoman empires, Tsarist Russia, and the Hohenzollern, Habsburg, Ottoman, and Romanov dynasties. All of these empires had been in power since the Crusades. The war lasted for 4 years, and after millions of lives were lost, a peace treaty was signed on November 11, 1918, ending World War I. German casualties are estimated at around 1,773,700. The German Revolution, or November Revolution, is usually referred to as the series of events that took place in 1918 and 1919, leading to the overthrow of the Kaiser and the establishment of the Weimar Republic. The uprising began on November 3, 1918, with a protest by 40,000 sailors. By November 8, workers and soldiers, Soviets had taken over most of Western Germany, laying the foundations for a Soviet Republic. On November 9, Kaiser Wilhelm was deposed and the German monarchy was officially abolished. The Social Democratic Party of Germany, along with the Independent Social Democratic Party of Germany, which was more left-wing than the former, formed the government. The German Revolution established the Weimar Republic, from which the National Socialists Nazis later emerged. The Weimar Republic, German, Weimarer Republik, refers to the German government from 1919 to 1933. The Weimar Republic is a term coined by historians for the period between the end of World War I and the rise of the Nazis in Germany. The official name of this government, like the previous government, remained the German Empire, German, Deutsches Reich. In 1919, the members of the German National Assembly, the Reichstag, who were mostly left-wing and in favor of a federal system and unconditional freedom for all parties and the press, gathered in Weimar, known as the city of Goethe and Schiller, to draft a constitution. This law defined the rights and duties of Germans based on the liberalism of the Enlightenment and guaranteed individual freedoms. Therefore, historians consider this republic to be the first democratic government in Germany. In the 1932 elections, the National Socialist Party led by Adolf Hitler won a majority of the votes. In 1933, the Weimar Republic fell. Nazi Germany provoked Poland and invaded Poland in August 1939, starting World War II, which ended with the defeat of Germany and its allies in 1945. As Allied forces approached Berlin, Adolf Hitler committed suicide after marrying his mistress Eva Braun and ending her life. In May 1945, World War II in Europe ended with the entry of Allied forces into Berlin. After the war, the Allies divided Germany among themselves. Communist Soviet Russia, which had reached Berlin earlier than the other Allies, occupied the capital and its surroundings. The United States, France, and Britain each took control of parts of the country. In 1949, as the Cold War intensified between the East and West blocs, the East German and West German republics were formed. Berlin was also divided between the Western governments and Soviet Russia. The eastern part became the capital of East Germany, and its western part, like an island between East Germany, belonged to West Germany. West Germany, taking advantage of the facilities of the United States Marshall Plan, the destroyer of the Greater German Empire, quickly moved towards industrialization, and East Germany built the Berlin Wall to prevent people from fleeing to West Germany. With the collapse of the Soviet Union, in East Germany, Erich Honecker resigned and was replaced by Egon Krenz. Krenz opened the borders and the Berlin Wall was torn down. The fall of the Berlin Wall is a turning point in modern history and is considered to mark the end of the Cold War. In West Germany, then-Chancellor Helmut Kohl called for the unification of the two Germanys. In August 1990, the Federal Republic of Germany officially came into existence with the reunification of the two Germanys.